The lobby of Whitmore Enterprises gleamed with marble floors and gold accents. Employees moved briskly, their eyes glued to screens, their conversations clipped and professional. But in the middle of all that bustle, a young girl stood alone, her small hands clutched around a sketchbook. Her name was Lily. She was 11 years old, bright-eyed, and curious, but also deaf. Her father, Richard Whitmore, was a billionaire known for his ruthless business strategies and endless wealth. Yet for all his power, he was failing in one thing: connecting with his daughter. Every day, Lily came to her father's office after school, waiting while he disappeared into meetings. And every day people walked past her, secretaries, executives, security guards, some with polite smiles, others pretending she wasn't even there. They didn't know how to talk to her, and to be honest, most didn't bother trying. That's why Lily sat on the cold marble drawing horses in her sketchbook, alone in a crowd. Until one day, a man in a janitor's uniform pushed his cart across the lobby. His name was Daniel. His job was simple: mopping floors, emptying trash, polishing the railings no one noticed. Most employees never even looked at him. But when Daniel saw Lily sitting there with her sketchbook, his eyes softened. He paused. Then slowly, he knelt beside her. Lily looked up, startled. She was used to being ignored, so she clutched her sketchbook tighter. Daniel smiled gently. Then he did something that made her eyes widen. He raised his hands, and he signed. "What are you drawing?" For the first time all day, Lily's face lit up. Her hands flew in response. "A horse. Do you want to see?" Daniel nodded eagerly, watching her little fingers form words. He didn't just understand her, he spoke her language. They laughed together silently, their hands moving in the graceful rhythm of sign language. She showed him her drawings. He told her about the horse farm he once visited as a boy. To everyone else, it looked like two people waving their hands in the middle of a lobby. But to Lily, it felt like being seen. And that changed everything. Upstairs, Richard Whitmore stormed out of a boardroom, frustrated after yet another tense negotiation. His assistant hurried beside him, rattling off numbers. But Richard's attention shifted when he reached the lobby. There was Lily, laughing. Not with him, not with any of his executives, but with a janitor. Richard froze. His daughter's laughter was rare, precious, and here she was, glowing with joy in a way he hadn't seen in years. He walked over, confusion tugging at him. "Lily?" he asked. She turned, her smile wide. She signed excitedly, her hands moving too fast for him to follow. She was telling him about Daniel, about how he understood her, about how he wasn't afraid to talk to her like everyone else. Richard stood there, ashamed. He was one of the wealthiest men in the country, yet he couldn't speak his own daughter's language. Finally, he looked at Daniel. You know sign language?" Daniel stood nervously, expecting to be scolded. "Yes, sir. My sister was deaf. I taught myself to communicate with her. When I saw Lily, I just thought she deserved the same." There was silence. Then Lily tugged at her father's sleeve, signing again. "Daddy, learn too." Richard's throat tightened. In that moment, he realized all the business deals, all the billions. None of it mattered if his daughter felt unseen. He looked at Daniel. "Would you be willing to teach me?" The janitor blinked, stunned. "Teach you?" "Yes," Richard said firmly. "Teach me how to speak to my daughter." Over the weeks that followed, Daniel began giving Richard lessons in sign language. At first, Richard fumbled, his powerful hands awkward and clumsy. But Lily was patient, and Daniel encouraging. Slowly, Richard improved. For the first time, father and daughter were truly talking. And with each new word he signed, Richard discovered something more valuable than any fortune. The bond he thought he'd lost with Lily. The biggest twist? Richard promoted Daniel, not to an executive suite, but as his daughter's personal communication mentor and family friend. The man once invisible in the lobby had become the bridge between a billionaire and his little girl. One evening, Richard walked Lily to the car after work. She signed up at him. "I love you, Daddy." This time, for the very first time, Richard signed back, "I love you too." Tears stung his eyes, and Lily's smile told him it was worth more than every dollar in his empire. Because sometimes, the greatest wealth isn't measured in money, but in the language of love, kindness, and being truly seen. The next morning, Lily hurried into the lobby with her sketchbook tucked under her arm. Instead of her usual spot on the marble floor, she went straight to Daniel. She signed good morning, and he responded with a warm smile. Employees who once ignored her now paused, surprised by the bond between the billionaire's daughter and the janitor. Richard arrived minutes later, briefcase in hand, expecting another long day of meetings. But when he saw Lily already talking with Daniel, he felt something shift inside him. It was no longer just about business, it was about time. Time to learn, time to connect, time to be present. At lunch, Richard canceled his board meeting and sat with Lily instead. She giggled as he stumbled through a new phrase Daniel had taught him. His movements were clumsy, but his effort was real, and that's what mattered. For the first time, the cold, polished walls of Whitmore Enterprises felt warm. Word of the Billionaire learning sign language spread quickly. The media wanted headlines. Investors thought it was good publicity. But Richard didn't care about any of that. This wasn't about image. It was about his daughter's happiness, about making sure she never felt invisible again. One evening, after a long day, Richard found Lily asleep on the couch, her sketchbook open on her lap. Inside was a drawing of 3 figures: a little girl, her father, and a man in a janitor's uniform, all holding hands. Beneath it, in Lily's careful handwriting, were 3 words: "My real family." Richard closed the sketchbook, his chest heavy with emotion. He realized then that Daniel hadn't just given Lily a voice. He had given both of them a second chance.